How are we doing, folks? My name is Jeff Hogan, and welcome back to another YouTube exclusive here with some Modern on Magic Online. Remember, if you enjoy the video, to hit that like button, ring that bell, and drop a comment down below. Today we are playing, I believe, is an iteration of a deck that Saffron Olives worked on a little bit. I don't know if he originated it or pulled it from somewhere else, but this was what was submitted to me. So this is a mono-red experimental frenzy deck. So basically the idea is we have a bunch of things like Rituals and Runaway Steam-Kin and Burning-Tree Emissary and even a Priest of Urabrask hiding in here to kind of chain through our deck and get a bunch of creatures into play eventually, and then Bushwhacker or Reckless Bushwhacker to give them a bunch of power and attack while we have Reckless or we have Experimental Frenzy in play. And then the idea being that past that we can also just like have fast Burning-Tree Emissary into Bushwhacker draws, or just like a good honest beatdown plan. We also have things like Relic of Progenitus, Faithless Looting, and even a Madblind Mountain to clear the top of our deck. Should we like get 2 lands in a row or something like that's going to prevent us from kind of chaining through our deck quickly here. Let's jump into a couple of matches and see how it goes. I feel like there is a real chance that this archetype falls into the not quite fast enough, not quite interactive enough to be good against the decks that are really good in Modern camp. So I'm interested to see if that ends up feeling like the case, or if there's a little bit more going on here other than that. That first hand, just like too many lands, not enough action. My general rule of thumb for decks like this is when you look at a hand like that and you go, this hand is close, do I want to keep it? The question you ask yourself is like, does it have your key card in it? And in this case, our key card is Experimental Frenzy. So because that hand did not have Experimental Frenzy, it's a pretty easy mulligan for us. Sweet. We dodge Thoughtseize, which means they can't take Frenzy. All of these cards are like kind of the same thing. So if they don't find a way to take this off of the table, we could be in a good spot. That being said, Green-Black does have access to 4 Assassin's Trophy a lot of the time now. So there's a good chance they're going to be able to take our key card off the table here. I feel like seeing if we're going to have the tools to grind through an interactive deck like Green-Black is probably a good test for this archetype. I think we're probably going to be a little bit slow against most linear decks, so if we are going to have a chance, it's probably going to involve beating up the fair decks in the format. I think I'm actually going to lean on Relic on one here, because I can't play Experimental Frenzy next turn regardless, so I'd rather get Relic going to like get less card types in my opponent's graveyard to make their Tarmogoyfs worse. Bubble. So Bubble Inquisition. The bubble actually implies that this relic's going to be even better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I definitely put my opponent on having or being a green-black rock deck or some sort, or Jund maybe, but these imply that my opponent is likely playing some kind of Traverse the Elvenwald deck, which makes the ability to attack their graveyard even more profitable. It also likely means that my opponent does not have as many Assassin's Trophies in their deck. A lot of times these Dismember decks tend to play more efficient removal, like Fatal Push and... what's the other one? Fatal Push and Lightning Bolt. And I'm going to go ahead and just get the other Relic going. Because my opponent's played the Mishra's Bauble, I think it behooves me to just play the other Relic out ASAP here since I drew that, because it's going to allow me to kind of like work through their deck faster, or work through their graveyard faster. Keep that in check. Ideally, I want to not pop these Relics until I get the Experimental Frenzy going. And the reason for this is the Relics allow me to draw a card off the top of my deck that I otherwise wouldn't be able to play, such as a second land for the turn. So in addition to being a main deckable piece of hate, This is a card that interacts while we're going through our combo-esque turn. Sultai. They could be 4-color as well. See the fetch shock there, obviously working towards Death Shadow. The fact that there is a watery grave here implies that we're going to be playing around Stubborn Denial. We're going to need to think about Stubborn Denial at least. Kind of wouldn't mind drawing a land next turn, so we can work our way up to Experimental Frenzy. If they have another bauble here, they could actually use Traverse with Delirium this turn, which would be kind of bad for us. Ideally, we're going to keep those in check with the relics. There might have been merit to like sacking this so I could relic last turn, but I think again I want to keep these for once I get my frenzy going. Worth noting, the opponent did not have a. They did not have another shock land there, so that's good for us. The Shadow's just a 1/1. Honestly, I think I'm just going to play two 1-mana 1/1s here. If I draw another land next turn, I'll probably just be casting the Experimental Frenzy, which seems fine. Oh, there could also be an argument for, like, not playing the Frenzy into a soft stub on 4 mana, but the flip side is, like, their Death Shadows are eventually going to get larger, and once they hit 4/4s, Stubborn Denial just becomes negate. Stubborn Denial is like this tough card to play around because it's often right to just play into it if you don't have something like a discard spell in your deck to draw to, because Stubborn Denial isn't like a soft counter like Mana Leak, for example, where eventually Mana Leak becomes a dead draw because you just like play enough lands and play around Mana Leak. Stubborn Denial, while it's a soft counter in the early game, it eventually becomes a hard counter in the late game, so you can't really play around it because it's going to eventually get you. So the fetch land here is a good pickup for them. It's going to allow them to turn Stubborn Denial into 1-mana negate since they can get the Death Shadow up to a 4/4. Alright, I guess so this, actually it's worth noting, this is actually a reason to have left the Bushwhacker in my hand. And then I drew a land here, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and play this and pass. So remember, Faithless Looting is card disadvantage while providing a little bit of selection. While it's obviously a very powerful card and has a pedigree in Modern, the reason why it's so powerful in a lot of decks that it's powerful in is those decks have cards that want to get into the graveyard to begin with, and this deck doesn't really have graveyard synergies in it. We're just playing Faithless Looting as a way to kind of shift through and like find our Experimental Frenzies and like clear the top of our deck when it's a card we can't play. So it's a little bit less powerful in this deck compared to some others. Yeah, no blocks here. I'm going to grab the Madblind Mountain, tap that end step. And then next turn we will jam this into play. Just going to activate your relics ASAP. There's no reason to wait. Your opponent's just going to have more choices later. Might as well get the one that's in there now. So I assume I'm going to 14 here. This fetch is going to put me to 13. If they don't have a Stubborn Denial, we could kind of go off with Experimental Frenzy next turn. So that could be neat to see. I guess it's pretty unlikely to like fully go off since we only have one land. So like 2 turns from now we could be going, which is again kind of going back to the, is this deck fast enough against the actual other competitive decks in Modern? Because, you know, this is like, we're heading into turn 5 here, I believe. Yeah, this is our 5th turn, and like I'm like just barely getting going now. I'm like, if they have the Stubborn Denial for this, like my deck's like actually not really doing anything. Like, don't have a lot going on. Yeah, actually just like have a 1/1 and a Relic of Progenitus. The only things I have going on here. So it's like not super linear, don't have any interaction. I don't have, yeah. It's, I guess you could argue Relic of Progenitus is interaction against a lot of decks in the format, but like we're still just gonna like die to this Death Shadow here, right? Like not every deck is like Dredge, where they have to have their graveyard. And even Dredge can often beat a Relic of Progenitus. Yep. And I don't think we have any outs here. I guess I'll cast Faithless Looting for good measure, just to like confirm that there's nothing we could do. It's just like the modern special, right? Our deck doesn't really have playable cards in it. Let's board in a bunch of Blood Moons and hope to steal a win with it. Hashtag Modern the Gathering. We've got 4 Skirk Prospectors and 4 Wild Cantors, so like we're actually pretty good at playing Blood Moon on turn 2 because we have 8 cards that accelerate into it. Not bad, .jpg. I'd love to play first. Thank you for asking. Sure. This hand's really good. I think. I actually don't know. I take that back. I am uncertain on if this hand is good or not. I'm going to lead on the Relic here to keep their graveyard in check. Because they're a Death Shadow deck, we often don't want to be attacking them until they're low. We want to expect them to have to do the work to get their Death Shadow into play initially. If we're poking at their health total, it's like kind of doing them a favor in a roundabout way. All right, and now my hand has a bunch of unplayable cards in it. And again, like the card quality question when you're looking at a brew like this that's a synergy deck is to figure out easily from an outsider perspective looking in, like, how good is the average card in my deck? You want to ask yourself the simple question, how many of the cards that are in my deck see play in other decks in Modern? They took Priest of Urabrask. So they must have a stubborn denial, right, if they're not taking this? I have to imagine. And in the case of this deck, we have a ton of cards in our deck that just, like, aren't quite up to snuff when it comes to being like considered a competitive Modern card. It's nice that Wild Cantor casts off the green mana from this though. It's kind of cute. Hopefully they don't play a Thoughtseize and they tap out next turn and we can play Experimental Frenzy and maybe do our thing. Hopefully we get to do our thing at least once or twice in this set of matches. That's really good for me. Don't Thoughtseize me, please. Oh, no. They killed my Wild Cantor. Alright, so we need to draw one of our 4 rituals. Faithless Looting. Not it. Faithless Looting just looking consistently awkward in our deck that lacks the ability to, generate value from the graveyard. Just, like, keep drawing it, like, not having extra cards in my hand. Just being like, well, this sucks. So you'll note that I pivoted from my previous plan there of not attacking them. And the reason why I chose to attack that turn was, if you note, last turn, my opponent put Stomping Ground into play tapped, which implied to me that they didn't currently have a Death Shadow. However, this turn they've shocked in Watery Grave, so maybe they do and they're sending me mixed messages. Or maybe they're sending me consistent messages and I'm just not reading them correctly. Yep. Probably just dead again. I think I just have to pop this. I don't have anything going on. Alright. Alright. If there were 2 draws in our deck that could get us out of this, it's definitely 4th land into our namesake. So we don't get to do anything this turn with it, but next turn perhaps we could get some stuff going here. And by get some stuff going, I mean there's probably going to be like 2 lands in a row. We're going to shuffle our deck, and there's going to be more lands. And that's the other thing, and this is something you see in Brews and Modern a lot of time too. What this deck is doing is kind of easy to disrupt and slow, and then in addition to being easy to disrupt and slow, it also isn't inherently very powerful. Like, we're going to get to potentially do our thing next turn, and our thing might actually just not be anywhere near good enough. Do you have a trophy? Maelstrom Pulse? Liliana Veil, that's fine. I don't really care about that one. I think I'm supposed to cast this without kicker. Alright, we're doing stuff. This one is technically free. Fetch lands are good. Blood Moon. Is Blood Moon good enough here? Huh. Is Blood Moon good enough? My Experimental Frenzy probably beats this board, right? So that means this Blood Moon's worth casting. So I want to retain priority when I cast this Blood Moon. And the reason for this is I get to see what card is next here. And because I can't cast this card this turn, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle my deck to try and get a look at another 1-drop red spell here. I'd rather not have this on top of my deck. And I need to hold priority when I cast the Blood Moon because once the Blood Moon resolves, my fetch land will no longer be a fetch land. Alright, it is worth noting that we are, in fact, dead to Temur Battle Rage next turn. Them plussing this Liliana is actually very good for us because it puts this Faithless Looting into my bin to potentially allow me to clear a bad card off the top of my deck later. So if we don't get Battle Raged here, and we have, like, an okay series, we can definitely, like, if they don't have Battle Rage, there's a good chance we can just put, like, endless 1/1s in front of this, and then eventually overrun the board and deal the 7 to them. Sweet. Didn't get Battle Raged. That's a mountain. That's a Bushwhacker. That's a land. It's a second land, so now we flash back this Faithless Looting that they allowed us to discard with the Liliana. There's a Steam-Kin on top of my deck. Sweet. Alright, so I'm going to discard lands here, probably. So I'm done doing stuff for this turn. Honestly, I think I'm just going to take this hit for 6 this turn. And... oh, wait. Why are they making me discard? This discard is kind of bad, I think. I think they should have attacked first. Because if they attacked first and I chump blocked, they'd be able to Edict me with the Liliana and kill the Runaway Steam-Kin. Whereas now, I get a free pass to, like, chump block this again, which I think is good for me. Maybe it's not good for me, actually. Yeah, I'm a liar. I'm actually just going to go to 4. Let me keep my creatures in play, because if I hit, like, a Bushwhacker, that could be good for me. Can I splice this one out of my hand? As you cast an arcane spell, you may reveal this card from your hand and pay its splice cost. You may reveal a card from your hand and play. I'm pretty sure Magic Online is bugged here, and I'm supposed to be able... I think I remember Saffron tweeting about this. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be able to splice this from my hand. You may reveal this from your hand and pay its splice cost. Yeah, because this says you can't play cards from your hand, but this isn't. This is like an additional cost as I cast this spell. I need to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that not being able to splice this is a bug. All right. Okay. Alright, let's attack Liliana the Veil. Bushwhacker's got a chump block next turn. Again, just like looking to fade. Temur Battle Rage. Turns out the key to beating your opponent if all of their cards beat you is cast Blood Moon, so they can't play any magic. Weird. Funny how that works. Uh-oh, basic swamp is scary. All right, we need a good turn next turn. That is not the start of a good turn. All right, make some red mana. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The Faithless Looting hit is good because it does put a Faithless Looting into our bin as well. So I'm not going to get to cast this because I have to draw off the top of my deck here. I guess getting spells into my hand is good because if I generate enough mana this turn with the Runaway Steam-Kins, I could potentially, I can potentially crack the Experimental Frenzy. I think they're dead, right? This is lethal. Just in case they have bolts or something, I'm going to keep going here. Because we have plenty of mana to keep going. I think we're doing it. This is what we're looking to do, right? This is the dream. And like, so technically all of our spells are like generating mana as long as we keep hitting spells, right? Yeah, look at this. All right, I understand what we're doing here. We get to do stuff and things. I get it. I'm gonna keep going for as long as my opponent lets me keep going. Oh no! Come back, opponent. I wanted to draw more cards. Look at all these cards I was gonna get to play. Why do you hate fun, opponent? Why are you the enemy of fun? What did fun ever do to you? Pretty happy with the Blood Moon and Prey sideboard plan, I think. Runaway Steam-Kin was really impressive there. That card pairs with Experimental Frenzy in an exceptionally fun way. Onward, upward, backward, forward. Sure. This hand actually can play Experimental Frenzy on turn 2. Turn 1 mana creature, turn 2 ritual. Maybe boarding the rituals out is wrong. And I just like want to be able to fast frenzy as often as possible. That being said, I like don't always have frenzy, so like that's a real consideration too. I talked about this deck being not quite fast enough, but I guess you can, in theory, play Frenzy on 2 and then go off on 3 sometimes, which is fast enough for Modern. Turn. My personal metric for is this deck busted enough for Modern is usually can you do your thing by turn 3. Inquisition's good for us, means I can't take the Frenzy with it. I guess Inquisition's never good for you, but it's like less bad, right? It's a good way to put it. Could be worse. All right, Prospector. Next turn, go boop into boop boop. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. I wonder if I'm supposed to play Madblind Mountain on 1, so that way I can play this into this on 2. It's quite possible that's the sequence I'm supposed to take there. But Dismember, sure. That other sequence that I just talked about would also make it so they couldn't Dismember me on onto here to get their Death Shadow into play, which is another reason to sequence in that manner. So yeah, I think I was supposed to play Madblind Mountain on 1 and then Burning-Tree into Double Dork on 2, rather than give them the ability to play a Dismember. We drew the Mountain here, so we might not get too punished. Like, if they don't have a discard spell, they don't have, like, blue for Stubborn Denial, I can, like, get Experimental Frenzy into play on 3 still. I guess I also have to have them not have a removal spell for Skirk Prospector, but I'd definitely be in a better spot if I had sequenced a little bit better. Oh, there's the blue source. I would like to go to 17, please. And again here, I could, like, try and wait a turn to play this Experimental Frenzy to, like, play around a Stubborn Denial. But, like, if they have any fetch land or shock land next turn, the Stubborn Denial just becomes a hard counter. So I might as well play into it this turn, because if I do wait, like, sacrifice your ability, what's the word I'm searching for? So while I got here, like, getting this into play a turn sooner is very valuable. I'm not going to attack them here. Just going to let this happen. And it kind of sucks that, like, because of my sequencing, I let them get the Death Shadow into play sooner. And it also made it so I don't have the Madblind Mountain in play. And Madblind Mountain's, like, a valuable resource when I have Frenzy going, right? Like, the ability to shuffle my deck is, like, very valuable. Shuffling my deck could basically mean the difference between, like, drawing 2 or 3 more cards and not drawing 2 or 3 more cards. They want to attack here. I'm going to double block. Am I? No, I'm a liar. Just, like, scream Street Wraith or Removal Spell or Bolt myself. With the Bushwhacker on top of my deck especially, I'm just going to leave these back. Oh, I guess I'm drawing this, so that's not relevant. That's true. Sorry. Getting used to Experimental Frenzy thinking. This is not the card I'm drawing next turn. Well, this is the card I'm drawing next turn, but it's not a card I can play next turn. Meaning Maelstrom Pulsed? Please don't. I'd rather not. Sure, you made me discard a card. That card for my hand was going to be so incredibly useful, though, opponent. All right. I don't have any way to clear cards off the top of my deck here, so if I hit another land, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. Alright, that wasn't particularly exciting. I'm not attacking with this because I only want to take a hit for 3 here. The turn I fully go off, I should be able to just, like, plow them from 10, so I don't think there's a reason to hit them to 8 and, like, give them a 5/5, basically. Well, that's going to give them a 5/5. I'm going to go to 8 here, I think. Probably start chump blocking next turn because I'd rather not die to Lightning Bolt. This does put me into the dead to Temur Battle Rage range, but, you know, we're often just dead to Temur Battle Rage. If I kick this, they're dead, right? Theoretically. I'm going to sacrifice this to its own ability and then kick this one off the top of my deck. Does this mean they're dead through a removal spell? It does, right? Seems good for me. Yeah, they need 2 removal spells here, and it doesn't look like they have it. They only have 1 red or black mana up to. Alright, sweet. I think I can solidly stamp exceeds expectations on here. This is good life advice. If your expectations are low going into something, it's very easy to surpass them. It's hard. Tough to be disappointed when you don't expect anything to begin with. And it's fine. interesting sequencing question, depending on, you know, whether or not they disrupt me here, is do I play Burning-Tree Emissary into Runaway Steam-Kin on 2? Or do I just play Steam-Kin on 2 so I can go Burning-Tree Emissary into Bushwhacker on 3? I think it's the latter. Because, like, getting more counters on my Steam-Kin is potentially very valuable. And I don't have a way to kill this, so I'm just going to go ahead and take 4 here. Yeah, I think especially with that, I'm going to go ahead and just do this. I accidentally clicked through their attack step there, so I should be 2 lower. So if I win this game at 2 life, I should have lost if they'd have clicked better. So next turn I'll go BTE, BTE, Bushwhacker, kick it. This will be a 5-4. These will be 3-2s. This will be a 2. And this is kind of a nice. Okay, yep, he's dead, Jim. This is kind of a nice, like, you know, can we win the game when we don't get Frenzy going? It seems like the answer to that is potentially yes. It's not a terrible draw. I have this Faithless Looting for next turn. So that means next turn I'll be able to Faithless Looting into Surge the second Bushwhacker, which is great. I wonder if they'll trade for the 2-1 here, if they'll just take 8. Wouldn't it be too surprised to see him trade for the 2-1 and be a little bit defensive? Wow, okay. I'm going to fetch a basic mountain and crack this Relic at end of turn. It doesn't look like Relic has a relevant text box in this matchup, so it'll probably be the card that we trim when we go to sideboarding. I believe we have some lightning bolts on the board that'll come in here against another aggressive deck. Groundbreaker. Yep. All right. I like the cut of your jib, opponent. This is 5. They're attacking for 11 here. That's not going to be good enough to erase what I have going on, though. Yeah, I like leaving the 3-3 back on their part. I think that's a good line. That being said, our aggression here is going to be too much for them. We drew the frenzy and don't quite need it. Kick it. Get a little surge on. There's a surge in the power grid. Get him. All right, so Relic of Progenitus, easy cut. 3 bolts in. I wonder if I bring in Dragon's Claw against random aggressive decks with this. Just because, like, I'm going to get to play a bunch of red spells most games. It doesn't seem completely unreasonable. I think Dismember is probably not quite good enough against another red-based aggressive deck. I'm not sure I'm Faithless Looting and bring in a Dragon Claw. A couple of Dragon's Claws. Seems fine here. This is a really good Hearthstone hand. Unfortunately, we need lands to play Magic the Gathering. Dang it, Magic Online. Did you not hear me? I need lands to play Magic the Gathering. And this is... The Faithless Lootings have been really mediocre. Not been happy with that card so far. I think I'm going to be greedy and keep this. I think the plan is just, like, Skirk Prospector on 1 and, like, play enough goblins, then hopefully Faithless Looting will help me find lands. Worth noting, my opponent also went to 5 this game, so we've got that going for us. If we can get the Frenzy down, we should be able to power through whatever it is they have going on. Sure. One of the nice things in matches like this, where they're like aggressive mirrors, is that our deck takes very minimal damage from its mana base, which is a big leg up for it. Missed on our second land, unfortunately. We did hit a Ritual and a Runaway Steam-Kin, though, so we got that going for us. Yep. So I'm taking 12 here, down to 6. So sacrifice this to itself, play Pyretic Ritual. Play Steam-Kin, play this, die. Yeah, needed to hit a second land there, obviously. Their 5 was very good. Good strong curve out on the play. Their deck seems sweet. Bet they're playing Pelt Collector. Playing the green Ball Lightning with Pelt Collector is some sweet technology. Just like double pump your thing guaranteed on turn 3. Seems fantastic. Like I'm picking up what they're putting down. Man. We're really feeling the 18 land so far. Huh. Huh. I'm gonna top that, but like, I think I'm just playing the Cantor on one here. The problem is that like, this hand needs a second land before it can make that card do anything for us. Yep, there's the Spell Collector. Sweet. Yep. I'm gonna offer a trade here. I'm just gonna hang tight on the rest of my hand. Getting a 1/1 into play isn't particularly meaningful. Wow, they have no play this turn? It's really good for us. Their hand just like a bunch of interaction. Oh, just more 1/1, sure. Offer this trade again. Probably be bolting a Pelt Collector here. Oh, that was a mistake. I should read their draft leavings. They're gonna giant growth something here, so obviously I should have bolted whatever they were giant growthing. This is another sweet one. Briarhorn with Pelt Collector. You like pump up the jam, and you get to get 2 counters on it. I dig it. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be good enough to win the game, but this turn's kind of sweet. So I get to do this, into Ritual, into Priest, into kick the Bushwhacker. Like attack you for a bunch. It's like not bad for 1 land, right? Put you to 6, go. Storm is 5. Briarhorn. Man, I haven't seen this card since like junior high. High school, somewhere like that. Lorwyn might have been 15 years ago at this point. Gosh. Alright, so I think I'm supposed to just do this. Obviously, they get to eat 2 of my cards, but I think putting them to 2 here is worthwhile because it gives me Lightning Bolts as lethal draws. My opponent's very likely to draw and play more creatures at this point, which means I'm not going to have better attacks than I have right now. There's 2 bolts in my deck. Gave it the college best tier, but it looks like we're gonna come up a little bit short. Probably have like 1 more draw step here. Not bad for being stuck on 1 land, you know? Played a total of 2 lands in games 2 and 3 here. Shame we weren't able to do 1 more damage to cut them off of that fetch. Is that lethal? It's lethal with a bolt. It's very lethal with a Groundbreaker. Good games, opponent. Yep, no hope in sight. I would like to thank everybody for hanging out here today. Appreciate you stopping by to check out my video and my YouTube channel. Remember, if you enjoy these videos, to please consider subscribing to my channel on Twitch or becoming a patron on Patreon. If you're one of the many people in the world who has Amazon Prime, if you link your Amazon account to your Twitch account, you get Twitch Prime included with that for free, and you can subscribe to my channel with that every single month at no additional cost to yourself. I love what I do, and I'm very grateful to have this as my job, but the reason that it is able to be my job is because of the wonderful support from people on Twitch and Patreon. Past subscribing and submitting decks like this wonderful one. You can support myself also by checking out some of my wonderful sponsors. MTGO Traders, we love to buy and sell Magic Online cards with you. Neo has wonderful candy-flavored protein bars. CoolStuffInc.com buy and sells a lot of cool stuff, including Magic the Gathering cards. And of course, BCW Supplies produces great card sleeves and other gaming accessories. You can find discounts on all those sorts of different things on my sponsor page. We're 1-1 heading on into the next match here with this. See where we go from here. I guess I keep this. Do I keep this? Doesn't really do anything. There's a non-zero chance to just like never draw a frenzy. If we draw a frenzy, it's fine. I might be a little scarred by all our one-landers, and I'm gonna keep this. I really don't want to, like, the chance of getting a one or no lander on 6 is like really high with an 18-land deck. So I think I'm keeping this hand just because it's like functional. Like does stuff, even if it's maybe not necessarily good stuff. All right, Tron, huh? We've got 3 Blood Moons in the board. It's kind of slow Tron hate and a couple of Molten Rains as well. My #1 recommendation for doing your best to beat Tron with whatever brew you're working on is step 1 is definitely win the die roll, which I unfortunately did not do here. Let me get turn 3 Karn to be incredibly sad here. If we draw a Frenzy next turn, I have a ton of mana. They just like play a Wormcoil here. I bet if they play a Wormcoil, we have a chance to kill them through Wormcoil if we hit Frenzy. We're just gonna get to like, oh, they're playing this Tron deck. Sure. All right, well, the fact that they're playing blue Tron here could mean that we're going to have a counterspell in our future. I'm not playing this deck to not go for it, though, so let's jam this into play. I'm going to go deep and try and splice. We can even play this through a Condescend here, which is kind of sweet. All right. Now we have unfortunately played a land for the turn already. So if we hit a land on top of our deck here, we're gonna have to stop. This is turn 3, by the way. For those of you keeping track at home. Looking for a Bushwhacker. Yep. This is all right. I might be coming around on the not quite not quite fast enough for Modern. This is quite the turn 3. This is quite not nice Tron lands. Nice Tron lands you have over there, opponent. It'd be a damn shame if something were to happen to them. -9 attack for 28. All right. I think I'm buying what this deck is selling. I think I might be coming around here. Yeah. All right. Ship it. Let's go. Let's go. Ship it. That was a turn. I think my only feedback on what the deck is doing so far is that Faithless Looting feels a little bit bad. I might cut at least one of them. I've been boarding one out a lot. I have to think, like, are there any other red cards we can play that could potentially clear the top of our deck? Because Faithless Looting just being card disadvantage feels really bad a lot of times with this deck. This hand is also potentially very good. It needs a second land, but if it finds a second land, it's going to be quite fantastic. So I'm choosing to lead on Skirk Prospector here over Wild Cantor, and the reason for this is twofold. First is that this can turn my other goblins into mana later. The second is that Wild Cantor has the ability to be cast off the green from a Burning-Tree Emissary, which makes it a little bit more flexible to keep in our hand. All right, well, Now I need to sit and count. So I can go Ritual, Steam-Kin with 1 floating. Then I can use the 1 floating to cast Goblin Bushwhacker. And then I can sack Bushwhacker to play Wild Cantor, leaving 0 floating. And then I can sack this, do this, and then Experimental Frenzy with 2 left. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Actually, so I can... Yeah, so I'm gonna do, so I do this. I do this. I do this, get a counter on this. I sack this, play this. And then this will let me get Frenzy into play with 2 mana floating. So, like, no guarantee that we, like, full combo them this turn, because, like, we already played a land that's pretty unlikely, but we did get Frenzy into play. It's, like, not a bad turn, too. Sure. Well, that means we're guaranteed to not have this pop on us next turn, which feels good. Burning-Tree Emissary and Wild Cantor are mana neutral, which is nice. And then they're technically netting us mana with the Steam-Kin, right? Because, like, the Steam-Kin makes additional mana. Alright, we're just, like, looking for Burning-Tree Emissary at this point. This is, again, turn 3. And I can even just cast this one off the top and it nets us mana. The fetch land is not a bad hit as well. Fetch land means we have a shuffle in the bank here. Oh, it doesn't, because I have a Blood Moon in play, sorry. But that being said, like, with the experimental, with the Blood Moon out, our opponent should not be able to clean our board next turn, so that's nice. Don't mind if it does here. Allow me to rain on your parade a little bit, if I could. All right, they're dead. That's just another good, clean turn 3 kill. Welcome to Thunderdome, opponent. Enjoy your stay. Hope you had fun playing Modern today. Oh, second Bushwhacker. How's that? Is that good? It's pretty good turn 3. Pretty good turn 3. All right, that's all we got. Wonder how much damage this is. Hopefully they let me attack so it shows me how much damage it is without having to count. I'd prefer to not have to count. All right, I officially rescind my not fast enough or linear enough for Modern comment from earlier. 18 to minus 18. 30. Attack for 36 on turn 3. Well. Nice Tron deck. Seems pretty good. Pretty good. My opponent ignored me, and we were linear enough and fast enough. This hand needs a second land, but is very good otherwise, right? Alright, humans. We're pretty bad against Kitesail Freebooter. This hand is pretty bad against Kitesail Freebooter, I should say. It's also kind of medium against Thalia. I guess Thalia's not too terrible, right? Like, a lot of our stuff are creature spells. Yeah, it's a Kitesail. That's unfortunate. So hopefully we hit the mountain and get to play the Runaway Steam-Kin this turn. I literally don't have a way to get my thing back out from under this though. So they're kind of just got that. Post board, I'm gonna get to have some lightning bolts in my deck, which is nice. You probably hear my 4-year-old upstairs. I'm recording on the weekend. What you got? One thing I think I forgot to mention in my shill earlier about Twitch Prime and Twitch subscriptions is that something that a lot of people don't know is that I don't have to be live on Twitch for you to subscribe to my channel. So I've had a lot of people comment, oh, I'm glad I finally caught you live. I'm never able to subscribe because I can't usually catch you live. You just go to twitch.tv/Jeff Hoagland. You can subscribe anytime you want, whether I am online or offline. Probably dead here. I don't think we're going to be quite quick enough. We both didn't hit the land, and they had really good disruption in the form of Kitesail Freebooter. Yeah, so like I can put Runaway Steam-Kin into play this turn, it just like doesn't really do anything, right? I guess I might as well do it. And like maybe next turn I draw, I like hit some kind of chain of things that like make this fine, but probably not. Each of these Bushwhackers technically net a mana. Main attack for lethal, they have 7, 8, 9, 10 right now. If they play a single human, I'm dead to Thalia's Lieutenant. Thalia. Maybe not dead to that. So this is an attack for 12 here, I believe. It's going to be 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if they have another human, I should be dead. And like, obviously I can chump block here, but if I chump block, I'm not going to have enough to actually do anything next turn. Alright, so let's cut these and bring in 3 bolts and a Dismember. Actually, Blood Moon's probably fine in this matchup, right? We just, like, get under them on the play. Yeah, maybe in the draw I don't want all the Blood Moons, but I think on the play I want all the Blood Moons. Because I can just, like, turn 1, Prospector into Cantor, Prospector or Cantor into Blood Moon. Sounds fantastic. I'm gonna trim a Pyretic Ritual since it's not fantastic against Thalia. Sure. Is this turn 3 Frenzy on the play? If we had a Ritual next turn, it's turn 2 Frenzy on the play. Put it mulligan to 6. That's a good one. Even if they have a piece of disruption here, I can go Cantor into Reckless Bushwhacker. Sweet. Looks like they just have Mantis Rider. Static Caster. Woof. That's punishing. I could have played around that by sacrificing the Prospector to play Cantor last turn, but like then I wouldn't be able to play Frenzy this turn, so I think that's worse for me. And I think it's right to just get this down ASAP before I get, you know, Thalia or anything like that, and they can Static Caster this down next turn, so might as well just play it out. I'm curious to see if we can beat this card. Kitesail Freebooter is now a blank. Meddling Mage can still potentially have text, so they can name cards, then we can't play them off the top of our deck. They probably want to name this card, or like Lightning Bolt. I think Bolt's probably a pretty good name here. Runaway Steam-Kin, also a reasonable one. Although I guess that seems a little bit weird to name with the Izzet Static Caster in play. Joke's on you, I couldn't cast this card anyways. Might as well attack for 3 here. It's not blocking Meddling Mage, because Meddling Mage is going to attack as a 3/3 with Exalted anyways. So. Can't block, not blocking, must attack, same thing. Might as well. Woof! Reflector Mage. Kinda good against Experimental Frenzy, turns out. Just gonna move along with our lives here. Too much disruption on the dance floor. That's a pretty good hand. It's a pretty good hand. All right, we're 2-2. See if we can win this last one here and be a real modern Magic the Gathering deck. I think at any rate, regardless of the record, like that match against Tron where we had like back-to-back turn 3 kills, like kind of showed me that like, yeah, this deck's like doing like modern level things. So if you like run a little bit good, it's kind of sweet to like draw through your deck and play a bunch of stuff. At the very least, it's like, you know, Narset Cannon style meme worthy. This hand plays Experimental Frenzy on turn 2, right? It goes Cantor, Ritual, Experimental Frenzy. My opponent's mulligan to 5, sure. Having 2 Bushwhackers in my hand actually kind of sucks for us. Because it means that we're less likely to draw a Bushwhacker when we combo with the Frenzy in play. I'm gonna get like spell pierced on this frenzy and just hate myself. Yay, they're auto passing. I guess playing this with only one land in play might be a little bit loose, but like, I'm not here to not turn 2 frenzy, right? How sweet would it have been if we'd hit our second land by doing that? Oh no. Spreading Seas is like gonna be oddly good against us here. Alright. There could be an argument for holding that fetch land for next turn, but at the same time, if I hit a 1-drop on top of my deck, I really just wanted to play it out. So, here we are. Yep. Missed a point of damage there with their sequencing. Every turn's an adventure. Can't really plan ahead. Yep, probably dead here. Yeah, we're gonna attack for 8 and then we're gonna be dead next turn. We could theoretically run off the stones here, but definitely improbable to win. That means it's impossible to win. Gonna bring in bolts and a dismember and cut 4 Relic of Progenitus against a deck where it doesn't have a text box. Yeah, the Faithless Lootings have been a little medium. Honestly, it could even just be like play another Pyretic Ritual, another Priest of Urabrask. Like both of these cards have seemed pretty reasonable. The double ritual draws to get Frenzy into play quickly are sweet. Seems pretty good. Could you imagine if this was a ritual? This hand would be better, right? If this was a ritual, I would definitely get this going like turn 3. Well, I guess I might get it going turn 3 regardless here. Get my little Steam-Kin into play. Probably going to be able to outlinear them on the play here. I guess I need to draw a mana source here, huh? I need to draw a ritual or a... or a land. Alright, they're not holding Spell Pierce up here, so that's good for us. Prospector. Prospector's actually a great draw. So Prospector's gonna let me go sack this, play this Urabrask, which triggers my Steam-Kin, and then Prospector turns these Bushwhacker, turns all of our goblins are mini rituals now. So this goblin costs me 1, but it technically makes 2 mana because it makes a mana off of here and it makes a mana by sacrificing itself. So I haven't played a land yet this turn. This Faithless Looting is technically mana neutral because it puts a counter on here, and putting the Faithless Looting into my graveyard is potentially good for me because it can clear the top of my deck later. This could also let me draw a land to play, although that's not true because I just need to hold the Experimental Frenzy. And I am a mana short from playing that now. So I put myself a mana behind to play the Faithless Looting, so like, maybe that was wrong. Like, if I if I wait, like, depending on what the top of my deck looks like, maybe I'm better off. I'd be interested to know in the comment section below what you think the right line might be there. If I'm supposed to, like, get the Faithless Looting in my bin to be able to clear my deck later with it, or if it's right to just go ahead and jam like I did there. Or if it's right to be, leave it back so that way I have 1 extra mana. Because, like, if there would have been, like, a 1 mana spell on top of my deck, I could have sacked the Skirk Prospector to, like, put a 4th counter on this and then had 3 mana left over, which could have potentially allowed me to go pretty crazy. Wow, Merfolk Trickster on here is really good. Gets rid of my ability to do a lot of stuff here. Wow, I messed that up. I could have, I don't know if it's a strict mess up, but I could have, so what I could have done there is I could have held priority after I cast my thing, and then deprive. Okay. So during my upkeep next turn, I'm probably going to bolt something before I draw this for the turn. This is a good trick from the opponent. They're putting a 2-drop in response to the Aether Vial activation. So now they can tick this to 3 if they want, which would allow them to get it to 4 for next turn to put Master of Waves into play. I think if they offer me the ability to trade with one of their creatures with this Priest of Urabrask, I'm going to take it. And keeping my health total high is important here, because as the game goes long, I'm more favored to win, because Experimental Frenzy creates, you know, these large advantages as games go long. Alright, so do they have a Lord? If they have a Lord, I can still trade here. If they don't have a Lord, I get to trade here. Merfolk Trickster was very good there. We would have gotten to do a lot of stuff if they hadn't had that. Wonder if they have another one here. I can play it off of these. So upkeep, I'm going to go ahead and bolt this. You've taken a peek. And again, I'm playing the bolt during my upkeep because once I draw it, I won't be able to play it because Experimental Frenzy is out. Alright, let's start doing stuff. And again, these all technically net mana for me because they make mana on their own and they make mana with Runaway Steam-Kin. Oh, yeah, it's looking like we're going to have lethal this turn. I already played a land. So I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm gonna keep going here just because I don't have anything else to do, so I might as well keep going. Like they could have a 1-mana Merfolk here potentially. Alright, there's another land on top. Alright, let's just go ahead and smash. If they don't have a Curse Catcher or a Miss, whatever it's called, they're dead. Alright. Turn, good clean turn 5 kill. I feel like I want more lightning bolts in this deck. I feel like not having 4 of the 75 is probably wrong. I really feel like I just want 4 of those in these creature matchups. Maybe we could just main deck 1 over the Faithless Looting. And the third Faithless Looting feels a little awkward at times. Well, this is an excellent Hearthstone hand yet again, unfortunately. Magic the Gathering. So let's take a mulligan looking for some lands here. Seems like not amazing, but it's definitely in the realm of keepable. Opponent mulligan to 5. So hopefully this lightning bolt is going to give us plenty of time to survive. So Unless I draw a 1-drop, and that's not a 1-drop I want to cast because it's awful. I'm leading on the fetch land here as opposed to the basic mountain, because the fetch land means my opponent can't play a Spreading Seas on turn 2. Second Frenzy. All right, Second Frenzy means... You know what? I probably should have fetched the Madblind Mountain there at end of turn. I'm going to do this into Faithless Looting since I have an extra Frenzy. I'm actually going to ditch these two. And the reason for this is if they have Spell Pierce next turn, or if they have a land and they have Deprive or Negate or something, I want to have a backup Frenzy. Because Frenzy's how I win the game. So, like, when you're in a position where you're ahead like this, you want to ask yourself the question, okay, what happens this game that causes me to lose? And then do I have the ability to play around it? I think the answer to the what happens that I lose is they counter my Experimental Frenzy. And yes, I can play around it by having another Experimental Frenzy in my hand, potentially. So, I think one of the things, and this is something I've definitely done a lot, even in competitive tournament play, is that you get ahead in a game of Magic, and it's very easy to get sloppy once you get ahead, and then, like, you end up losing a game because you were so far ahead that you started playing sloppy. So, without Runaway Steam-Kin in play, our deck doesn't quite have the same combo velocity that it potentially has in other spots, but we'll see. We definitely have some potential here. We're doing some stuff and some things. There's a Dismember. I can't cast anything else this turn anyways, right? So I might as well just attack for 2. There's no huge incentive to dismember the Silver Girl Adept because I could wait and try and dismember a Lord potentially. That does give them the ability to potentially counter my Dismember, but I think that's fine. They put a Lord into play here. Trickster at end of turn. Okay. Sure. Again, maybe I'm not supposed to attack there because, again, as the game goes long, I'm heavily favored with an Experimental Frenzy in play. So, like, there's merit to just, like, being super conservative with all my attacks and blocks. It's funny that they left Peak in their deck. They must not have cards that they can cut to replace Peak with because Peak, like, obviously isn't very good against me, right? And then obviously I'm going to draw this next turn and not be able to play it. So I want to just cast it now because I'm not going to be able to cast it in a second. Just Witchmember this one here. We're depriving that deal. I think I'm just going to kick this. Sure. Unfortunately, I'm out of mana here. That's unfortunate. Your double Bushwhacker. So what are the odds I die next turn? Incredibly unlikely. Attack with all of these. And then, you know, assuming they don't have a counterspell next turn, I could actually draw this Ritual, pay 4, blow up the Frenzy, cast Ritual, cast Bushwhacker on the back of the Steam-Kin. Master of Waves makes things more complicated. Yep. Yep. All right, so Wild Cantor to start. Mountain. So, what is the best line here? Can start by flashing back Faithless Looting. It's probably not unreasonable. Clear through some of these lands. This gets the last counter on my Steam-Kin. So Ritual on top, okay. And this is actually, I'm gonna file for comp for this league, because I'm pretty sure this is bugged, right? Like, if I'd have been able to cast this from my hand, I'd be really well off here, but I can't. There is a 1 or 2 mana red spell underneath this. Will be in. Oh wait, I have plenty of mana. So looking for. We just want there to not be a land underneath this. Okay, that's a Bushwhacker. We might be able to power through this. That's another Bushwhacker. Okay. So I'm actually just gonna single pay for this, because I'm probably going to cast these other ones out of my hand here, I think. I guess not if there's a land underneath. So I don't want to shuffle the top of my deck here. Yeah, I just want to get... I'm looking for a 1 or 2 mana thing here. If I find a 1 or 2 mana thing, it unlocks this. Skirk Prospector drawing out of my hand is really good here. So I should have 2 more mana, or one or 2 more mana if I'd have been able to splice this correctly. But sometimes Magic Online is Magic Online, so I definitely don't want the land. How much mana am I going to be able to make here? So I'm going to be able to make 3, and then this will make 3. And then, so I have, this is going to be 6, 7, 8, minus 2 is 6, which means I can blow this up and then start casting these out of my hand. So I probably want to hang tight. I'm going to do that, I think. So then I'm going to do 3 red, surge this. So they have... Maybe I was supposed to keep that other one, actually. So they have 9 blockers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 attackers. So I do this. I guess if I have to sacrifice goblins to the Skirk Prospector, that changes the calculus on it. On how many attackers I have. I have a Faithless Looting in the bin at some point here, too. So I'm going to blow this up. To play Skirk Prospector out of my hand. And then there's a land on top of my deck, but eventually I'm going to get to Faithless Looting past that to maybe have enough to keep going here. So if I do this, I can sacrifice the Bushwhacker for a mana, and then I can sacrifice this for a mana to cast Desperate Ritual. Which then is going to give me enough to activate this, so I can then cast Runaway Steam-Kin. Which gives me enough to make more mana off of this. I just have, like, infinite mana at this point. Not literally infinite, but we're getting close to, like, figuratively infinite. I feel like I should have the tools to kill them here, and I'm not quite sure. I'm sure I fumbled this turn at certain points. So I know there's a land on top of my deck, which is a brick. So I think I have to start by flashing back Faithless Looting. And then if I surge this, it triggers this. So that's going to get me up to 5 mana. And then I can always sacrifice goblins if I need more mana past that. And then playing the Experimental Frenzy. Playing the Experimental Frenzy is going to trigger these 2 Runaway Steam-Kin. So that'll give me more mana that way. And there could just be another land on top of our deck and we're done. There's not, thankfully. Great, that's a Bushwhacker. Alright, and there's a land. Alright, so... do I have lethal? So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they're going to take hits from my 3 weakest creatures. And my 3 weakest creatures look like they are a 2, and a 3. So I can put them to 1. Is that really what I'm doing with my life? I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 12 attackers. They have 9 blockers. They take damage from my 3 weakest creatures because they have 9 to 12. Yes, they're going to go to 1. And our boards are going to mostly trade off here. But then, like, I still have an Experimental Frenzy in play. All right, what's the mantra? Math is for blockers. Ship it. What a silly game. Man, we almost did it. I guess we're technically not out of it yet, but we're probably out of it. Just needed one more Bushwhacker on top of my deck. They only have 2 cards in hand. Their last 2 cards could be bricks. Unlikely because they missed land drops. Pretty likely they have spells in their hand. They could have like another Master of Waves here. How many lightning bolts have I played? I've only played 1 bolt. They must have another master, right? There's 2 bolts in my deck. Gosh, if this had been on top last turn instead of the Scalding Tarn, we'd have killed them. We might still kill them here. There's only 12 cards in my deck. 11 cards in my deck. They need Master of Waves plus a counterspell here. Nine cards in my deck. There's a bolt. Do you have a counterspell? And even if they have a counterspell, I have 1 more bolt in my deck, I believe. Great, they have a deprive. I think there's 1 more bolt in my deck. 6 cards, let's find out. I've not played a land yet this turn, right? I don't think so. Four cards in my deck. Second bolt. There is, in fact, a second bolt. 3 cards in my deck. Bolt you. 2 cards in my deck. All right. We beat double Master of Waves. Was the last card a Bushwhacker? What was the last one? Burning-Tree Emissary. All right. That was... Whoo, that was a... that was a League of Magic the Gathering. I think my only comments are that the Faithless Lootings were, some are necessary, maybe the third one is awkward. I feel like I want one more bolt in the 75. I'm not quite sure. I guess Surgical is theoretically good in the decks. Like, it's Graveyard Hate that you can also, like, play for free when you draw and you're comboing. So I guess that's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, Smash is, like, a fine kind of sideboard card. I don't know if that's, like, this would probably be one of my trims for a Bolt just because Bolt's more flexible. At any rate, if you're looking for a sweet modern deck that's doing explosive, neat things, attacking at a different angle, this seems like a good one. Worth noting that Grafdigger's Cage is your biggest enemy because Grafdigger's Cage does prevent this from letting you play cards off the top of your deck. But other than that, this deck seems incredibly sweet. Thanks for watching, folks. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, to smash that like button, ring that bell, and leave a comment down below letting me know what you think of my stuff in my offline videos and my online videos. And as always, I'll catch all y'all around later. Thanks for watching, folks.